evening, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Awesome. My name is Jenna Phillips. I'm the founder of I'm on a Mission and Team I Am. I am so excited to be here tonight with all of you fellow world changers and thought leaders. It's really amazing. And I am exceptionally honored to be here tonight, to be able to speak to all of you, because 14 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to stand up here and speak with eloquency and being grounded and clarity in my voice. And I'll get back to that in a few minutes. And also, 14 years ago, I would not have been able to remember that I was going to be getting back to anything in a few minutes. So, so it's really cool to be here. I appreciate you guys sitting out here and being a part of this. So we all think that it's kind of impossible to go back in time. And if you're sitting in this room, you are more than likely a brilliant and very sexy person. Raise your hand if you're brilliant and sexy. Every single person's hand should be up right now. Okay, so knowing how brilliant you are, you get that we can't rewind. We can't go back. We can't undo, edit, remove, alter anything that happened before this present moment. And we often wonder, if I just had that one moment all over again, my life would be totally different. Well, guess what? I got a little something for you. It actually is possible to change your history. And it's not going to require a DeLorean or you living vicariously through Back to the Future. You actually can change your entire life and your entire history in this moment. So, again, remember, we think that it's not possible to change history, but what do you think history books are? Are they facts? To a certain extent, they are, but actually, it's a perspective. History books are all about perspective, and it is the author's duty and it's the author's choice to write this book in such a way that it has all of the readers believe that it is in fact true and factual, and that's really what their purpose is. So what if you were to take your history book and think back to a time of, gosh, I wish if I just known then what I know now, as if I had known that he was going to cheat on me, I never would have started to date him. Or if I had known that my best friend was going to take my concept and trademark it in her name only, probably would not have been friends with her. And if I had known that the stranger was going to sexually abuse me when I was on vacation with my friends, I probably wouldn't have gone on that vacation. All of those things have been a part of my life. I've experienced all three of those. But it wasn't until I decided that they all happened for me and not to me that my life changed and I was set free. I don't believe in accidents. I believe that everything happens for a reason. And I also believe that me falling 14 feet from a hayloft of a barn 14 years ago, landing on my head on concrete, was not an accident. I believe that waking up from a coma with brain damage, not being able to speak or put my thoughts into words, it's not something that happened to me, it happened for me because it gave me purpose. I don't remember a lot from that time in my life. I remember like slides of time, kind of like a screenshot. Most of what I know from that time actually is because of what everyone told me. Like they were narrating my experiences and they were really supportive and helping me put all the pieces back together. But the really remarkable thing about that experience is that I do remember one specific event. One. And I remember it very well, and I'll never forget it. It was my catalyst moment. My doctor was talking to my parents, and he said, you know, I'm pretty clear that Jenna's never going to be the same. He couldn't have been more right. But what he meant was she'll never be back to where she was before. I was sitting there watching him speak to my parents. He wasn't even acknowledging me. He didn't even look at me and didn't even think to consider what was I thinking, what was going on in my brain. Not a whole lot except for this. I knew that even though he was speaking as if this were fact, this was a neutral event. And my perspective was this: I can do anything. He continued to say, you know, she's got a semester left of high school. It's going to be too stressful for her to even go back. We don't even think she should try. He discouraged me from even trying to complete high school on time. And I finally understood the power of perspective in this moment when I said, in my mind, because I couldn't say it out loud yet, I am going to graduate on time. And so I did. And I graduated with flying colors, the highest GPA I'd ever had. Why? Because I was on a mission. My misfortune became my mission. It became my purpose. And in the same meeting, as if, I'm going to rewind, so I'm here, and now we're going back. Going back, rewind. So rewinding back to the day when my doctor was dishing out this prognosis, all kinds of stuff that I wasn't in alignment with. He said, so I got something else for you. As if recovering from brain damage wasn't painful enough. He then pulled out one of these. Does anyone know what this is? It's an insulin pen. Inside this insulin pen, there is a needle. I used to be terrified of needles. I used to avoid them at all costs. I used to make up excuses to not go to the doctor, to get my flu shot. I was like, no, hell no, I'm not going anywhere near that. Raise your hand if you're afraid of needles or don't want to be anywhere near them, right? You guys aren't admitting, and I know you're scared. So I looked at this, and I don't remember the words that left his mouth, but I do remember realizing that I had just been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I had no idea that I had it, and they discovered it just because I was sleeping soundly in my coma, and they were doing routine blood work on me. And they were like, oh, something else. So learning how to talk again, write again, express myself all over again, when all of those things were my strengths at one point, became my weaknesses. And while managing all of that and relearning how to get through all of that, I also had to learn how to manage this. And at the time, it felt like a whole lot bigger than climbing something like Mount Kilimanjaro. I'll tell you that much. But I knew that it was going to be my purpose. I knew that it didn't happen for no reason, because nothing happens for no reason. I thought, how can I forward this instead of allow it to frustrate me? How can I have this be my purpose? I used to be ashamed of giving myself shots. If I were at a restaurant, I would go to the bathroom. I would do it in privacy because I was just terrified of making people uncomfortable. And as a matter of fact, I've never seen a diabetic give themselves a shot in public before. This does not define me. It motivates me. Every single time I feel the pinch of the needle into my skin, it's a reminder to eat well, to exercise, to love my body, and to take this out into the world and let people know that they're not alone. So I know that there is someone in here who also has diabetes. I'd like to call her up, please. Danielle. So I invited her to partake in something with me because this is the stuff that is the actual healing and sets both of us free. Not being ashamed, not being afraid to make people uncomfortable, but rather have it be something that creates awareness. She uses a pump. Oh, hey. So if you guys have never seen a diabetic do an injection, you're about to. Give her a hand, you guys, like a big one, a big one. So, back to my ex, who decided to cheat on me. I've completely forgiven him. And I'm grateful, I'm thankful, because that experience made it very clear to me what I will not tolerate in a relationship. And for whatever reason, he felt like he needed to fulfill something within himself, so I feel compassion for him. And I also learned from that to always trust my gut. with my ex-best friend who decided to take my amazing concept and trademark it in her name and her name only. Crazy, crazy, right? I feel compassion for her too. I've forgiven her because that reminded me to get everything in writing. Everything. As for the man who sexually abused me, I have forgiven him. I feel so much compassion for him because for someone to think that they can violate somebody else for any reason, something really horrible must have happened to them too. And they must be suffering so much on the inside. So I feel compassion for him. And when you forgive someone, it doesn't let them win. It sets you free. We all have a purpose. And sometimes we find that purpose in the most painful times of our life. But rather than be frustrated or feel defeated, ask yourself instead, will I get through this? And the answer is always yes. How will this forward me? This is a growth opportunity for me and for everyone in my life. Remember, nothing happens to you. Everything happens for you. Thank you.